Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today is our topic classification in cell of bone. Bone. Bone or osseous tissue is a specialized rigid connective tissue composed of cell and extracellular matrix. The matrix of bone has the special property of being extremely rigid because it is impregnated with the mineral salt, mainly calcium and phosphate. And the chief physical property of bone tissue is their toughness and hardness, and it is basically composed of four cell types: osteoprogenitor cells, osteocytes, which are found in cavities lacuna between layers of the bone matrix lamella, osteoblast, which synthesize the organic component of the matrix, and osteoclast, which are multinucleated giant cells involved in the resorption and remodeling of bone tissue. In this slide, you can see the four basic cells of the bone tissue. Osteogenic cells develop into an osteoblast. You can see then the osteoblast, which is developed from the osteogenic cell. Osteoblast then convert into the osteocyte, which key role in the maintenance of the bone tissue. And in the last, there is the one is the destructive cell of the bone is the osteoclast, in its function in resorption, the destruction of the bone matrix. The osteoprogenitor cells, spindle-shaped cells with the pale oval nuclei, and these cells are derived from the embryonic mesenchyme found in the inner layer of the periosteum and in the endosteum, and also line the Haversian and the Walsh milk canal. And and these cells has uh, contain the pale staining and ovoid nucleus, and as I told you that it is derived from the mesenchyme of the embryonic mesenchyme and retain the potential to divide mitotically throughout life. Of being stimulated by injury, the osteoprogenitor cell differentiated into osteoblast, and you can see here in the diagram that these are the mesenchymal stem cells which are converted into the osteoprogenitor cells which cover the periosteum, and these osteoprogenitor cells then further differentiated into the osteoblast. And osteoblasts are the cuboidal or the low columnar cells that are found to be present in opposition to the growing or forming surface of the bone, uh, and originated from and derived from the osteoprogenitor cells. And and these cells, the osteoblasts, are placed side by side and form a single layer that resemble a simple epithelium. The osteoblasts possess receptor for the parathyroid hormone on their cell membrane. When activated by the parathyroid hormone, the osteoblasts secrete a cytokines that is an important stimulator of the osteoclastic activity. Resorption activity, which are performed by the osteoclast, is activated by the osteoblast through the parathyroid hormone, which is called a osteoclastic stimulating factor. And you can see here also the osteoblast, and these osteoblasts activate the osteoclastic activity when the osteoblast activated by the parathyroid hormone. The osteocytes are the mature bone cells derived from the osteoblast and are almond-shaped flat cells with an faint cytoplasmic basophilic cytoplasm. And osteocytes are not capable of mitosis, but they are long-living cells. Uh, the osteocyte lie within lacuna of the bone matrix, which are connected to each other by the canaliculi. Osteocytes maintain the calcified matrix and receive nutrients from blood vessels via the very small channel through the matrix called the canaliculi. As you can see here, the you can see here these are the Haversian canal, the bone. You can see here in this diagram very clear osteon, one of the osteon, the Haversian canal, and the Haversian canal contain the blood vessels and the nerve. And these are the purple color are the osteocytes which are reside in the lacunae, and between the both you can see here there is the one circle of the osteocyte, this is another one, this is the outer one, and between this is the you can see the line which is called the canaliculi, and these canaliculi contain the cytoplasmic process of the osteocyte, and this is the bony layer or the lamella or lamella, इसको हम lamella और bony layer कहते हैं. This is one, this is another bony lamella, this is another one lamella, and this is the Haversian canal which contain the blood vessel and the nerve. And these canaliculi are connected one osteocyte with the other. Lamella के connected करते हैं एक दूसरे के साथ. The narrow space between the plasma membrane of the osteocytes and the wall of the lacunae and canaliculi is called the periosteocytic space. This one you can see here the osteocyte, and this is the bony wall and osteocyte के दरमियान जो space हमारा बनता है इसको हम periosteocytic space कहते हैं, and this space is occupied by the extracellular fluid. This fluid serves as a medium for the exchange of nutrients and metabolites between the osteocytes and the nearest blood vessels. The main function of the osteocytes maintain and educate blood calcium level and the maintenance of the bone matrix. Osteocyte can also resorb calcium from the wall of the lacunae and intracellular canaliculi and secrete it into the periosteocytic space. The calcium resorbing function of the osteocyte is controlled by the serum level of the parathyroid hormone. An increased level of the parathyroid stimulate the osteocyte to reabsorb the calcium from bone matrix. ठीक है, जब अगर ये स्टिमुलेट हो जाता है, इंक्रीज हो जाता है द लेवल ऑफ द पैराथायराइड हार्मोन, तो ये स्टिमुलेट क्या करता है ओस्टोसाइट को, और ये क्या रीअब्जॉर्ब कैल्शियम फ्रॉम द बोन मैट्रिक्स को करता है ये. And the other one is the osteocytes. The osteocytes mean for the resorption of the bone matrix. It is are the large nucleated cells with the acidophilic cytoplasm. Bone resorbing cells involved in the remodeling and renewal of cells. These cells are found on those surface of the bone which are undergo resorption. इन्हें हाउस शेप लिकुना, अगर उसको हाउस शेप लिकुना को हम रिजॉर्प्शन बे भी कहते हैं. इसको पहले ज़माने में पहले ट्रेडिशनली हाउस शेप लिकुने कहते थे, बट नाउ इट इज़ कॉल्ड द रिजॉर्प्शन बे. The resorption bay are created by the erosion action of the osteoclast on the underlying bone. The lower part of the osteoclast known as the ruffled border. You can see here in this diagram, this is the osteoclast, and this the lower border, this is the resorption bay, and this is the clear zone of the osteoclast, which is devoid of the any cell organelle but rich in the actin filament, which is called the clear zone, and it is stuck to the side of these resorption bone के sides को stuck हो जाता है and firmly attached to the bone, and inside to the both side of this clear zone it is called the resorption base created, which is called the subosteoclastic compartment is created, and in this space the osteoclast secrete hydrogen ion collagenase and the hydrolytic enzyme into this compartment, and And this osteoclast, as I told you that the we will discuss further that the bone is composed of the organic component and the inorganic component, and in the osteoclast we release these hydrogen ion collagenase and hydrolytic enzyme in this compartment, subosteoclastic compartment. It's lead to the dissolution of the inorganic component and the digestion of the organic component of the bone matrix. यानी डिसोल्यूशन हो जाती है इनऑर्गेनिक कंपोनेंट की, और डाइजेशन हो जाती है किसकी, ऑर्गेनिक कंपोनेंट ऑफ द बोन मैट्रिक्स की हो जाती है. जो ऑस्टियोक्लास्ट है, द ऑस्टियोक्लास्ट पोजेस रिसेप्टर फॉर द calcitonin hormones that are produced by the parafollicular cells of the thyroid glands, and this hormone suppress the osteoclastic activity. The osteoclast don't have any receptor for the parathyroid hormone. However, the parathyroid hormone stimulated by the osteoblast by the cytokine, जिस तरह मैंने आपको बताया था कि ये एक फैक्टर बनाता है जिसको हम ऑस्टियोक्लास्ट स्टिमुलेटिंग फैक्टर, उसके थ्रू ये इसको कंट्रोल करता है ऑस्टियोब्लास्ट ऑस्टियोक्लास्ट को. And however, when are the parathyroid stimulate the osteoclast to secrete osteoclastic stimulating factor, which is a cytokine that is an important stimulating stimulator of the osteoclast activity. तो ये इस तरह ऑस्टियोक्लास्ट की एक्टिविटी calcitonin एंड कंट्रोल बाय calcitonin पर फॉलिकुलर जो सेल्स है उससे सिक्रीशन इसकी होती है, वो भी कंट्रोल करता है. इसके अलावा थ्रू द ऑस्टियोब्लास्ट इट इज़ कंट्रोल बाय द ऑस्टियोक्लास्ट स्टिमुलेटिंग फैक्टर के थ्रू भी ये कंट्रोल होता है थ्रू द ऑस्टियोब्लास्ट. So this is the function of the osteocyte and the osteoclast in the bone. The external surface of all bones are lined by periosteum, while the internal surface are lined by endosteum. The periosteum consists of a dense fibrous outer layer of collagen bundle and fibroblast. Bundle of periosteal collagen fibers called the perforating or Sharpie fibers, which penetrate the bony matrix, binding the periosteum to bone. The innermost layer the innermost cellular layer of the periosteum contains the mesenchymal stem cells called osteoprogenitor cells with the potential to divide by mitosis and differentiate it into the osteoblast. Osteoprogenitor cells play a prominent role in the bone growth and repair. As in It's mean that the periosteum has the outer layer and the inner. The outer layer is the fibrous layer and the inner is the cellular layer. जिस तरह कार्टिलेज में था फाइब्रस आउटर लेयर था एंड इनर सेलुलर लेयर था, इस तरह पेरियोस्टियम में भी आउटर इज द फाइब्रस लेयर विच कंटेन द कोलेजन बंडल एंड फाइब्रोब्लास्ट. और ये बंडल ऑफ पेरियोस्टियल कोलेजन फाइबर्स, ये कौन से फाइबर्स बनाते हैं हमारे पास, परफोरेटिंग और शार्पी फाइबर्स बनाते हैं जो कि पेनेट्रेट करते हैं बोनी मैट्रिक्स हैं एंड बाइंडिंग द पेरियोस्टियम टू द बोन. The innermost layer of periosteum is called the cellular layer, and it contains the osteoprogenitor cells with the potential to divide it. और ये ग्रोथ करता है and these osteoprogenitor cells goes to originate the osteoblast, and osteoblast is further maintaining the growth of the bone. The cavity within the bone are lined by the endosteum, which is a thin layer of connective tissue containing the osteoprogenitor cells. The endosteum line the medullary cavity of the long bones and the trabecular cavity of the spongy bones. In this slide, you can see the section of the long bone with the periosteum and endosteum. The periosteum which provide the osteoprogenitor cells which further divided the osteoprogenitor cell which further divide in osteoblasts and help in the formation of the new bone. And you can see here the compact bone with the osteocytes in the lacunae. The bony matrix by weight, mature bone matrix normally is approximately 35% organic and 65% inorganic material. The organic material, which composed of the bony matrix, is 35% of the dry weight, and it's mainly consists of the collagen, protoglycan, and glycoproteins. The collagen of the bony matrix is represented as the type 1 collagen fibers and account for more than 90% of the organic component of the bone matrix. This very high contents of the collagen make the bone resistant to tensile stresses. The protoglycan of the bone consists of the short core proteins covalently linked to the chondroitin sulfate and keratin sulfate, as compared to the cartilage, which contain the large portion of the protein cores is in bone. The core protein is short, covalently linked to chondroitin sulfate and keratin sulfate. The protoglycan contents of the bony matrix is sufficiently lower than that of the cartilage matrix, and therefore water contents of the bone matrix is much lower as compared to that of the cartilage matrix. तो कार्टिलेज में हमारे पास वाटर कंटेंट ज़्यादा होते हैं क्योंकि वहाँ पर कोर प्रोटीन भी लार्ज होता है, कॉन्ड्रोटिन सल्फेट और हमारे पास केराटिन सल्फेट, जो कि गेग्स नेगेटिव चार्ज लेके आते हैं और वो इसके साथ वाटर रिटेन करते हैं सोडियम को, एंड इट मेंटेन द वाटर लार्ज कंटेंट इनटू द कार्टिलेज एज कंपेयर टू द बोन में ये लोअर क्वांटिटी में होता है ये protoglycan, or therefore the water contents in the bone matrix is much lower as compared to the cartilage. The glycoproteins found in the bone matrix are unique to that bone tissue and include osteonectin, osteocalcin, osteopontins. These glycoproteins bind to the mineral hydroxyapatite crystal of the bony matrix. तो ये हमारे पास ऑर्गेनिक कंपोनेंट्स हैं जो कि मेनली 3 कंपोनेंट्स में कोलेजन टाइप 1 होते हैं, प्रोटोग्लाइकेन एंड ग्लाइकोप्रोटीन्स होते हैं, एंड दीज सर्व टू बाइंड द ऑस्टियोसाइट एंड ऑस्टियोब्लास्ट टू द बोनी मैट्रिक्स. द इनऑर्गेनिक कंपोनेंट्स पर अगर हम आ जाएं तो इट्स मेंटेन 65% इन inorganic material in the bony matrix, and it's responsible for the hardness of bone tissue. Bone जो hardness है, it is due to the inorganic component, and which consists mainly in the form of hydroxyapatite crystal of the calcium and phosphate, anhydrous calcium phosphate होता है, ठीक है. तो main chief component in inorganic component of the bony matrix is the calcium and phosphate. तो ये हमारे पास होता है द कम्बिनेशन ऑफ द मिनरल विद द कोलेजन गिव हार्डनेस टू द बोन एंड मेक इट capable of resisting tensile force. If we removal of the organic component of the bone, leave the inorganic material as white, brittle, and fragile mass which retain the original shape of the bone but break very easily when handled. अगर इससे आप कोलेजन फाइबर्स निकाल दें, प्रोटोग्लाइकेन निकाल दें, ग्लाइकोप्रोटीन निकाल दें जो कि मेन कंपोनेंट ऑर्गेनिक कंपोनेंट के, तो वो हार्डनेस तो दे देते हैं. ये जो इनऑर्गेनिक कंपोनेंट्स है, कैल्शियम फास्फेट है, सोडियम पोटाशियम मैग्नीशियम बाइकार्बोनेट सिट्रेट है, लेकिन ये टेंसल फोर्स को फिर बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकते. ये बोन एंड इट कैन इजली बी ब्रेकेबल. In this picture you can see here the bone, its compact part and the spongy bone, and you can also you can see also here the medullary cavity and the periosteum. Structure of the bone tissue. We divided the bone tissue structure into microscopic structure and the microscopic structure. The microscopic structure, on naked eye examination, 2 types of bone tissue can be seen in cut section of a bone: compact bone and cancellous or the spongy bone. In microscopic structure, microscopically, the bone is classified into primary bone and secondary bone. And we will discuss these in detail, these structure, microscopic and microscopic structure, in the next lecture, inshallah.